Hello, Cancer. Welcome to a timeless Justice for Cancer reading, where we discuss the topic of justice. However, Sekhmet, one of the sister energies that I read for, would like to have the conversation. Bear in mind that in her delivery of doing so, it may come off as merciful or merciless to you. However, bear in mind that it is in my best interest and my only interest to deliver these messages in the highest form of vibrational energies that I am attuned to providing these messages. With that being said, I've already mentioned this is one of two sister energies of channels that I run. This video specifically belongs to the energies of Sekhmet, but I have her sister channel, which you can gain access to via the description box below, or just in general, checking out the various links of the content that I have spread out between the two channels. In regards to myself, again, I am 7th, aka Master 7th, that reads these energies for you. I am a Master healer, that provides remote wellness alignments and tarot intuitive insights such as this. And please remember that you have tapped into a collective reading that I, 7th, am holding at this time. This is not a personal one-to-one connection that you and I have made time for. So it's important and vital that you use your discernment, take all the bits and pieces that are to your liking within the reading, and leave anything behind with the reading with me that may not have been to your liking. Again, whatever brings you here is in true form. However, you have an association to being Cancer in any shape, way, or form, known or unknown to you. And whatever kind of relationship you may or may not have with Sekhmet is also already in true form. For I, 7th, to be the interpreter of these energies. You'll also find access to my newly launched website that I have made available somewhere in either the description box below or over in my bio. Just bear that in mind if you'd like more insight as to who and what I am, and also if you'd like to book any services that I have made available for you at this time. Okay, Justice for Cancer. I already know that I'm getting a bit of just residually, and I think it's also attached to my ego knowing how I'm showing up to service, and my ego has an interesting memory. Okay, and so I do understand that for those of you who are someone who are familiar now a little bit about my channel and are aware that it's a growing channel and whatnot, and you might be affiliated, more chances than not, to being associated to the terminology of Cancer, and you have possibly an opinion. And you are totally entitled to your opinion. And with it might come judgment. And you are also entitled to those judgments. Because let's face it, there is some sort of prejudice that does come within having to look at a book and figure out whether or not the cover is intriguing enough to want to open the book and invest time and attention to reading anything written within. So, do we have to judge a book by its cover? Probably. Most likely. Let's be real. Let's be honest, right? So, however you shape your resonancy to and with to something is always easier when it's a stranger, because there's no association of accountability required. So it's easy to do with me. It's easy for you to not like me, pass judgment, make an ass out of ourselves, draw conclusions, raise doubts, and all that jazz. It's part of also the human organic experiencing to filtering out whatever we are engaged in, whether that it's with self-inquiry or literal reactions to something that is triggering a direct thought of something. So this is where tarot can become interesting, because I'm saying all this and not have yet looked at the cards that come out, and I'm just speaking, right? But what can happen in the niche of tarot and using that as depictions of cards to tell a picture is ironic that this is the Hangman. That the picture can trigger multiple ways, and whatever comes out is a focus point to the variant ways of possibilities. So that means you can say something and actually have before, middle, and afterthoughts about what is coming out of your mouth. There is a sense of responsibility and dignity there that can be found if you master knowing thy speech. holding your tongue, minding your own. And there has been an evolutionary process for someone of your caliber, more chances are not, who's been on this journey. Who's been on this journey of trials and tribulations of personal self. And wherever you go to resource more security to validate inner insecurities or validate certain securities, again, up to you, up to thy own choosing. And however you go and however you went to build this persona for yourself, some of you have forgotten where you've gotten this courage from, and others have not forgotten but pretend to not care. And that is a problem. That is a problem that highlights you being an overall problem to a bigger masses of problem. Because if you cannot see the accountability and dignity of self within that structure, well then how can you ever deliver dignity, reassurance, loyalty on a matter of anything outside of yourself? And that's where sadness then comes through. Where the sadness is, we're here to say, what is the audacity? I don't understand here. There is a meshing of you, Cancer, that is so unconditional in the ways which makes you the mother tongue of intuition when it comes to comparing just the egos of the zodiacs, of all zodiac signs. You bestow that natural of swimming with that conditional possibility of unconditional love, because that is the pursuit of finiting yourself, being in the face value of transparency that you can do in the atmosphere of being an audience of anyone other than you, or with someone other than you. There's a transaction that you engage in that moment to provide such validation for someone externally that when it comes to spending time with you, and you don't match up your own evolution to what you inspire, what you trigger, you will cause somebody to be like, wait a minute. I didn't see this coming, but there are certain aspects of you just being that, aren't really... The least thing that it's making me do is question. It's making me question your motives, your intentions, and that increases doubt. And it's a hard pill to swallow for some of the people in your audience who you say you love, who you say you see in authentic ways, and you want to show up to unconditional love. There are aspects that are shadows, that are very loud in the ether now, Cancer, that are speaking. And that speech is going to trigger exactly whomever that energy is attached to, and beckon that energy to announce thyself. You cannot escape this. Everything can look exactly the way you thought it could have been yesterday, tomorrow. But everything about tomorrow will be 1,000% different than yesterday. And to know that is to live and breathe that and be in a harmonious tongue of that flow. And not vindictive, not cunning, and not fucking ass backwards. There has been a lot of readings up to this point where I-7th, who reads for these energies dually, but also exclusively for the energies of Sekhmet, who has been very merciless in delivering a message of Cancer, like, I don't fucking understand it any longer. And we don't know how to tell you nicely. So we're not really interested to hold back our tongue, because the message, no matter how nice it could be said, there are a lot of messages and the ways that you didn't gravitate towards them when life became not so pretty. You still chose an interesting path, although you could choose another. And that is also like, well, interesting. Do you really want peace? Or do you actually want to trigger the possibility of a starter at something and then say, psych, I can heal you. Or psych, I love you. Like, it's being fickle. It's being insecure. Very fickle again. Fake. So, let's get to your cards after 9 minutes. Alright, we have the Magician here, Queen of Cups, and the Prince of Wands. Okay? So this Prince of Wands in this deck gives me always, when I see it, the Chariot card. Yeah, why is it not as mature? Why is it not a king? Why is it just the Prince of Wands, right? You're in the halfway stage. You're not who you were yesterday. You're not yet your future self. You're right in the middle. And at the same time, the middle is telling you yesterday doesn't matter and the future is not real. Now matters. So the mind is split. The mind is split with emotions because the emotions might bleed from the past and might bleed into the future. And although it feels so cathartic, there's a processing engine of bringing the reality of past and future to the present, which is more or less in this equation logic. So logic is telling you, yes, there is a now, there is a yesterday, and there shall be a tomorrow. Everything attached with logic is also attached with logic, meaning the mystery whether or not past is understood or the future is actually coming. But there's a logical aspect. The lesson here is that you are the logical aspect. So it is logical to assess you for who you are and the quality and the overall picture that you either desire of your life, want out of your life, demand out of your life, or expect others from this viewpoint to be. And then there's the existence of that. All of that is you. All of that contender of who and what you bring and the quality to assess that is you. The more of you find, the more less people can take something or give you something malice to you because you are secure in the negative and that positive aspect of who you are. This is again just adding on to the layers of why you're Prince of Wands. You're not just a baby. You weren't born yesterday. And you understand tomorrow's not promised and you are grateful. You can practice gratitude. You have affirmed a lot of your struggles, a lot of your pain within the struggles. So at face value, some of the ego is like bruised at first embrace. I'm like, fuck, Seventh, like, you don't have to be this fucking cunning. At the same time, we have to be logical to the reason as to why you're showing up here to this reading. We have to know, more or less, the elephant of the room of having addressed the elephant in the room, which is Sekhmet energy. Sekhmet is a vibration of more or less a frequency of color that I can have you trace if this were a personal one-to-one connection, and have you trace this color, which is going to be pink. And however association you have to that, may that be merciful and merciless. This is the outside assumption to know that you are within a construct of something at the same time. And being within it, and as well without it, is how much you have a safety netting to be in close proximity to the relationship or not. That type of structure of maturity is needed to uphold some of the integrity of gratitude that goes hand in hand with the things that you're affirming materialistically in your life, whether that's your career, relationships, marriage, wanting to fix people, wanting to heal people, wanting to heal your children, chisel them, being a family, wanting the material aptitude of life by putting your time and vigor in there, is all the Prince of Wands in your energy. Yet there is a vulnerability attached within that that gets you to do some of that, and the audience of who you want to attract. And more or less, these are individuals who have a liking or a similarity of a pain that you have, and they want to be treated authentically. Some of you are bypassing the fact that you are not really truly paying respect to some of the energies that you are actually working with. And although you can make a deeper connection to however you want to label to any of those connections, as much as a label of Sekhmet might mean absolutely nothing to you, might trigger the contrary not to like me because you don't know it, is exactly the cause as to why everything is in true form. So everything is truly in true form. Whether it's an opinion, whether it's a matter of fact, is also part of the illusion and part of the reassurance that you must know that you've tapped into a collective reading and not a personal one-to-one connection. So there's still room and buffer to know how much room of accountability and how much this reading is yours, right? These layers of multiple aptitude is exactly why I'm saying you have a skill. You have a skill because you are a Cancer. You are the crab of the ocean. And you can, ultimately, in being the crab of the ocean, you travel the depthness of that sand. of the sand within the ocean. And if you follow the elevations of the sand by staying grounded, by staying on a journey, you might eventually notice that you go from a submersion of being very deep in the water to more elevated elevation, less depthness, and eventually the shoreline, and then no water at all. Then you're in the element of air. That sense of exposure for the crab is a lot. That sense of exposure is, in argumentative sake, either better or worse, because the shifting of when is the crab a prey, or whom is now the newer or different predators, comes truer. But it's not to say it becomes less or more, right? Just because the water might feel one thing and then the air brings another element. Both realities, both sets of consequences. You're swimming in that. You're swimming in the ultimate penance of knowing all that gratuitous aspects that also comes with subtle elephants in the room, which is the shadow. The shadow where all this light is born from, and where this light will return to. It's one thing to resort back to what you're comfortable with in order to teach something that is new to you, and using old to refine with a new sense of twist. That's unique. That's yours. Yeah, that's not really what's happening here. There's a lot of copy and pasting. There's a lot of ChatGPT asking for permission before stepping into an acknowledgement of self. So this has been the nicest way to teach you, more or less, why the energy of Sekhmet is just over it with the energies of Cancer. And where she comes in very cunning at certain moments and is like, seriously? Mind yourself. Like, come on. You know? Their ego is very high in certain aspects that the ego of opinion, of constructive opinion, you can handle. You can handle Cancer. Don't pretend like you can't. You dish it out, so you should be able to dish it in. The Eight of Swords with the Magician, the Nine of Pentacles, and the Ace of Cups. Like, it's sad to feel the frustration of both the human frequency and the frustration of ethereal energy, where it's like, don't at me. From both the human's perspective, like, you don't know how difficult it is, and then the ethereal energy is like, bitch, please. Your problems are tiny compared to the collective problems that I have to fix, but you want me to abide my time fixing these minuscule problems and give you and teach you more of gratuitous action by having to remind you not to forget about the goddamn shadow that shaped you? You wanna forget the shadow that shaped you. What? Ten of Coins, success. Alright, we have the Hangman, the Fool, and success, Ten of Coins. Your shadow has shaped you. Your shadow has absolutely shaped you. Your shadow has shaped you, and you want to pretend like your shadow is not, like, this is the surest way to piss Sekhmet off. Alright, well, everything is a mystery right now because of the Hanged Man and the Fool to have the rose-colored glasses, to however they want to bring the choices of the 1 to 12 here to make their manifestation. This is the depthness of the water here energy, and this is making it into the ground, to land. The reward of the alchemy of the journey of the 2. And here is your 10 of coins that is saying success. So however you capitulate success, whether that's first, second, or third place, if you put a placement to it, is exactly the placement where you are. So just because you're first doesn't mean you're first in line. You're just first. You're first to see the rewards. You're first to see the problems. That kind of perspective here. There's an ego death involved in here. There's a fucking identity crisis here. There's a chance to rehash, recalibrate. But this is so you orientated that to reach the point of destination, you'll have to bring attention to it. You have to literally feed it. You have to want to return home to yourself. And that's it. That's all I have for you at this time. It's the longest reading for you yet. As of lately, I would say. I'm wishing you a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are in the ether of this time and space. And may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing. Take care.